and welcome to the Pilates for Runners workout. This is one that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I think now it's probably particularly relevant because during these COVID-19 times, the gyms are closed, so running is something that we are able to do outside, and maybe more people have taken up running, or you're finding yourself running more, and I wanted to just do a workout that is aimed at just working those muscles that we use during running and trying to prevent any injuries. Okay, so we're gonna start lying down. Okay, so holding on behind the thighs and rolling down. So I just want you to just take a moment to let your body settle into the mat. Let that collarbone be nice and wide, shoulders are nice and relaxed. Your legs are coming straight out of the hip bones and your pelvis is in a nice neutral position. So maybe just tip it up, push it away, and then you settle somewhere in the middle, and that is your neutral. So I'm going to be using neutral pelvis a lot in this workout. So it's just that you have a little gap between your lower back and the mat. That's your neutral. Okay, so we're going to start with some arm circles. We're going to inhale, take the arms up, and then exhale, bring them round to the hips. Okay, so inhale, filling the sides and the back of the rib cage, making sure when we take the arms overhead that we aren't flaring those ribs out. Okay, so we keep those ribs nice and connected to the abdominals. Okay, so we're not arching our back up, we're just keeping them nice and knitted closed to the mat. Okay, so let's now go round the other way. So take the arms around to the ears and then back down to the hips. So all the time making sure you're getting some nice big deep breaths in, and exhale, using the abdominals to push that last bit of air out of the lungs. So now settle the hands onto the mat, and we're going to go into some hip rolls. So you might need to move your feet a bit closer to your bottom. Okay, so we inhale to prepare, exhale, tip the pelvis towards your rib cage, and then peel it off the mat. We're using the hamstrings and the glutes to come up. Again, making sure you don't push your ribs out at the top. You keep them nice and knitted closed and in connection with the abdominals. And then we sink down, one vertebra at a time, getting as much movement as we can out of that spine. Release completely at the bottom. So we're going to do 3 more like that. Go in your own time. Just try and get a little bit more movement out of that spine with every roll that we do. Down, and then we're just going to do 1 more. And rolling down. So we're now going to take the legs to tabletop position. Okay, so they're in 90 degrees, so the knees aren't too far towards the chest or too far away. They're just at a 90-degree angle. Okay, then we're just going to let one leg open to the side and then bring it back. And the other side. And back. So it's just a little hip release. So inhale out, exhale back. So you might find one side goes wider than the other. Work with your own body. Okay, don't try and force it and roll over. Just open it as much as your hip will allow. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to tap the toes away. So the thigh bone goes away from the hip and in. So tap and in. Okay, if you're feeling this in your lower back, don't tap the mat. Okay, I don't want you to feel it in the lower back. You should be feeling it in the lower abdominals, but not in the back. Let's do 4 more either side. 3, 2, and last one. Okay, just hug those knees in. And then I want you to lengthen away the left leg. Just move down a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go into one leg circle, but I just want to do a quick hip flexor release. Okay, so our hip flexors are working all the time when we're running. Okay, so just a little quick stretch. So you're going to create your own resistance. So I want you to push into the thigh as you bring the thigh towards the hand, and then let it release. And again, push and release, and one more. Push and release. Okay, so now arms go long, and we're going to take the leg around and down and up. So your knee is staying in line with the toe, your leg is going around parallel. So we're not letting it fall open to the side. We're just taking that femur around in the head of the hip socket. Draw those abdominals down towards the mat to keep that pelvis as still as you can. And then let's do 5 the other way. Okay, so the more control you have through your abdominals to stabilize that pelvis, the bigger the circle. Okay, if you have a lot of control, you might want to straighten the leg to do this. Okay, I prefer having a bent leg. Okay, and one more. Okay, and then just hug that knee in and circle the ankle. So if we're running, you really have to take care of your ankles. Okay, so it just feels really nice to circle them around. Okay, and then let's go to the other side. Bring that leg in. We'll start off with the hip flexor stretch. So push and release. And again, release. And last one, push and release. So hands go on the mat, and we take the leg around and down and up. So don't forget to breathe. 3, 4, 5, and now we go around the other way. So you feel like those abdominals are drawing down into the mat to keep that pelvis really stable. 3, 4, and last one, 5. Then hook that one in, and let's circle the opposite ankle. Okay, so now we're going to bring one knee to tabletop, the other knee to tabletop, hold behind the thighs, and we're going to go into our single leg stretch, but we're going to do it slow and controlled. Okay, so I want you to lengthen the leg away and then switch. So really lengthen that thigh away. So your hands come to the opposite knee. Head and chest is lifted, your head is supported by the shoulders. 4, 5, 4. Okay, so adding the control means we're building some endurance for those abdominals. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, just hug in, lower down, mini break. So now we're going to take the head into the hands, legs come back to tabletop, and we do an oblique twist and down for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10, and hug in one last time. Great job. Okay, so moving on to the glutes now. Okay, so another important muscle for running. Okay, so we're going to do our shoulder bridge exercise. So we're coming into a neutral pelvis. Our legs are coming straight out of the hips, arms are long on the mat, and we're just going to pick the pelvis straight up, making sure those ribs are staying connected. So you feel like the ribs are coming down as the pelvis is lifting. We tap down. Okay, so we're going to do 10 of those. So let's go up for 10, 9, 8, really squeeze through those glutes as you lift. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now hold at the top. We go halfway down and up. Halfway down, up. 3, 4. Don't forget to breathe. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tap down. We're going to take the legs wider now and the knees are going out, so we're in a slight external rotation. Okay, so lifting up, tap down. 2, 3. So this just works a slightly different area on the glutes, more to the side. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, bringing the legs back into a parallel position. They're narrow, so they're coming straight out of the hips. We're going to lift the pelvis up, and then we're going to lift the heels, lower the heels for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, keep the heels lifted, and we're going to articulate down like we do in the hip rolls. So one vertebra at a time, keeping those heels lifted, and then release completely at the bottom. So we're going to do a variation of a figure 4 stretch now, which I think is a brilliant stretch for after running and cycling, but it's a really nice one. So we're going to cross one ankle over the opposite knee. Okay, and now I want you to keep your pelvis in a neutral position. Okay, so the tendency is when we hug the knees in, we tip our pelvis up towards the rib cage. Okay, it's going to happen a little bit as you bring the knee in, but then I want you to try and push that pelvis down into neutral, and you should already feel a stretch on the outside of that hip of the crossed leg. So hold behind the thigh and just gently pull in and breathe. So now I want you to release that back and push in to that opposite knee. So just opening the hip out. Okay, so now bring the knee towards you again, making sure that pelvis is in neutral. And then release and push the knee away. Okay, so now hold on behind the thigh. We're going to straighten the leg and we're going to flex and point. Flex and point. So just a little hamstring stretch. Bend the knee and let's change sides. So this is a new exercise that I learned on a course last week, and I think it just is such a deeper stretch for the glutes, keeping your pelvis in a neutral position. So I hope you feel that. Okay, so bring that leg in, making sure we keep that pelvis in neutral to feel the stretch on the outside of the hip of the glute. Then release and just push that knee away. And then pull the leg towards you again. Don't forget to breathe through these stretches, really, really important. Push the knee away. Okay, and then straighten the leg and flex and point. So plantar flex and dorsiflex. So toe away is plantar, toe towards you is dorsiflex. Okay, and hugging those knees in and rolling up. So we're going to come into our rolling like a ball exercise now. So our toes are resting on the mat, hands are pushing into the outside of the shins to activate the lat muscles on our back. Okay, come up on those sit bones, then tuck that pelvis under using the abdominals until you roll back, and then come up and balance. So we're going to do 8. 7. So if you inhale as you go back and exhale as you come up. Great. So 4 more. Should feel like a nice massage on the spine as well. So just make sure that you're not throwing your legs. Okay, so you're creating the ball shape using your abdominals. We're not using momentum of throwing the legs back. And last one. And just hold here. Great job. Okay, so we're going to come down and lie on our tummy. Okay, and we're going to let our shoulders round forward onto the mat. Our head goes to one side. Okay, our legs are in parallel position, glutes and hamstrings pulling down, abs are lifted off the mat. We're going to inhale to prepare, and then exhale. You take the shoulder blades together at the back as you lift up, your legs come up, and your heels drop in. This just creates a bit more room in your pelvis. We hold here, and then we roll down, and legs come back. So we're going to do 5 like that. So lifting up and then lowering down. So really feel those shoulder blades coming around and together at the back, and let them come forward as you rest onto the mat. Three more. Two. And last one. Brilliant. So now your hands are going to come forward, so they are just in front of the shoulders. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate what we're going to do first. So we're going to lifting up, okay, and then we're coming down, and we're going to push back into a shell stretch. So it's like we're rounding over a ball or creating a little tortoise shell. So you're doing spinal flexion, and then we come forwards, and then we go back into that extension. Okay, so we're going to do that 3 times. So join me now. So lifting up, and then we push up and round over that ball, creating as much flexion as we can out of the spine, and then coming back forward and back into the extension. And rounding over. And last one. Lifting up, head is in a nice line, always gazing at the mat, and then push back and into your shell stretch. Brilliant job. Okay, we're now going to come into a stretch again for the hip flexors, which is a different stretch to, I guess, what is normally runner's lunge, where you're lunging all your weight into that front leg to get a stretch here. Okay, we're going to keep the pelvis vertical, and then I want you to just tuck it under, and you should feel a stretch all the way on those hip flexors in the front of the pelvis. It's really quite an intense stretch for such a small movement. Okay, and then I want you to go back and stretch those hamstrings. Good. And then just do one more. So come up to vertical, and then just tip that pelvis under as you push the little hips just a little bit forward. And breathe. And then come back into a hamstring stretch. And then let's change sides. Okay, so pelvis nice and vertical, tucking it under to feel that stretch right in the front of the pelvis. It has all those muscles we use when we're running. And then come back. And last one. Tuck. And then go back. Excellent. So I hope you enjoyed that stretch. That was another new one I learned. I think it's a really good one. Okay, so we're going to come down onto our side now. Bottom knee is bent, top leg is long, and we're just going to push that hip away to make sure we're not collapsing through the waist. Okay, our hips are going to stay pointing forward like headlights. We're going to flex the foot forward as we kick, and then take it into a slight extension at the back, making sure you're not having any movement in the chest. So we do that for 8. So for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, so it should feel really nice on those hamstrings, 2, and last 1. Okay, knees together, feet together now for clamshells. So we're just going to open and close. So don't roll back on the hip, keep those hips nice and static facing forward, just opening and closing the hip. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we open, extend the legs straight, bring the feet together, close the knees for 2. So really lengthen that leg away. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and last one, 8. So now coming on to our elbow. Okay, so the elbow is maybe just a little bit wider than the shoulder, not too much. Top leg is long, top arm is long. We're going to bring the elbow to knee using the obliques and then lengthen away for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now put your arms one in front of the other, and we're going to come in to an elbow plank. Okay, so I want you to feel comfortable in this position. Okay, so your hips are down, you're spreading the weight evenly, you're pushing through those arms. Okay, so either now hold here, or we're going to rotate and back, and then the other side, up and back. Rotate and down, and last one, rotate and down. Drop those knees, and let's go to the other side. Okay, so getting set up for our side kick. Make sure that hip is pushed away so you're not collapsing in the waist. And we kick and back for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep nice and stable in the upper body. All the work's just coming from that hip. And 8. Clamshells. Open and close. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we open, extend, close the feet, close the knees for 2. Make sure you're not collapsing in that waist. And you're breathing. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Coming up onto that elbow now. Okay, top leg goes long, top arm long, and we bring both together and stretch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and last one, 8. Great job. So coming onto that arm plank here. So make sure those hips are nice and low. Head is in line, it's not dropped or looking up. And we're going to rotate and down. Other side. And down. One more each way. And last one. Drop the knees. Okay, we're almost there. So we're going to do an exercise. It's going to start with push-ups for our shoulder strength, and then we're going to go into some stretching exercises for the muscles in our calves. So the soleus muscle, which is responsible for the push off on our run, so to flex your foot off the toe, and then your gastrocnemius muscle, which lies underneath, which are like the brakes for your calf. So it's really important, again, when you're a runner, that you look after these muscles. So hopefully these two little exercises will help. But before we do those, we're going to do 10 wide arm push-ups. So take your knees back, or by all means do full push-ups, pushing through the balls of the hand, making sure those scapula are very stable on the back, so we're not collapsing into the neck. We lower down, push through the hands. 2, 3, actually we'll do 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now I want you to come onto your toes for a plank. Okay, then we're going to bend the knees, push into the heels. You should feel a stretch at the back of those legs from the Achilles and up. Then come back into your plank again. So you might need to adjust slightly to get the position right for you. Okay, so pushing back and then into plank. One more. Push back, heels go towards the mat and up. Okay, so now for the gastrocnemius stretch. So we're just going to push back into like a yoga down dog, but your head is between your hands and the heels are pushing towards the mat. Just feel a stretch down the backs of those calves. And then come back into plank. Again, lifting up. Work with your body, so you may be able to get your heels directly on the mat, you may not. Just work with it. And down. And last one. Heels towards the mat. And down. Knees in. And then we're going to end standing. So final exercise is a roll down. So I want you to listen to my cues on this one so you get the most out of it. So I want you to imagine that you're standing against a wall. If you wish to do this against a wall so you can feel it better, that's great, do that. Otherwise, listen to my cues. So I want you to imagine that your bum is against the wall and your shoulders against the wall, head is against the wall. We're going to inhale, exhale, nod the chin to the chest, and we're going to start flexing that spine. So the first thing to move away is our shoulders. Okay, but the bottom and the pelvis is still high, bottom is still touching the imaginary wall until you can't get any more flexion out of that spine, and then the pelvis tips forward on the femurs and you roll down, head hangs heavy, and you inhale at the bottom and exhale, roll up. So your bottom comes back against that wall. Okay, you're really flexing over. And then we're rounding the shoulders down at the back. We'll just do one more. Inhale, exhale. It's just listening to those cues. I know if I think about it, I get so much more movement out of my spine than if I just roll down without thinking about it. And the more movement we can get out of our spine, the more freely we can run. And then rolling back up. And shoulders around and down. And you're done. So that was your 30-minute Pilates workout for runners. Let me know what you think. I hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you'll find those exercises are good for you. They're going to try and help prevent injuries, make you stronger. There's a couple of nice stretches in there. I do plan to post a shorter version of this workout, which you could do post run on if you wanted to go for a run. It's maybe about 15 minutes, so it's going to be half the length of this. I'll get that up on the site as soon as I can. In the meantime, there's plenty of other content on there. There's around 65 workouts I've posted already, so subscribe to the channel. And I will come back with another workout really soon. So take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.